Hey guys, and welcome to my shop. Today I'm gonna show you guys a quick video on how to build this nice cherry side table with simple pocket hole joinery. The first thing we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to get the material. We can start with our legs. Let's grab our material and get to work. Okay guys, so the first thing we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna take our wood here. First, cut it to rough width on the bandsaw. Once we're done with that, put it to the thickest planer and then finish it up on the table saw. Once we're done that, we're gonna have our legs, and my leg is gonna be 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, and then eventually I will cut it to 30 inches long. So let's go ahead and do that first. Okay, so now we have our 4 legs cut to our final size. Now we can take them, put them off to the side, work on the next step. So the next step is going to be to take our 1/2 inch material and rip it down to whatever desire you would like the rails to be. In my case, it's going to be 3 inches. So we have to take this over to the table saw, set it up to 3 inches, and cut our rails out. Okay guys, once we have our rails cut to our final dimensions, bring it over to our table, and now we need to figure out the length to cut the rails in between the 2 legs. Because we're going to be using pocket holes, these can be just straight 90-degree cuts right towards the legs. So the final length of my table is going to be 13 inches, and therefore I need to leave a little bit of space on each side for overhang. So after I did all the math, the final length of my rails needs to be 9 inches. So once we figure out the measurements for that, bring it over to our miter saw, cut 4 of them, and then we can go on to the next step. Okay guys, now let's go over to the miter saw, cut 4 9-inch pieces for our rails, and then we can go on to the placement of the pocket holes to go into our legs. I know I wasn't wearing them before, but I will put them on now. Okay, I have 2 of the rails here. They will be laid out differently in my case because of the way I'm going to secure it to the top. So, for the legs on either side, I would like to have 2 pocket holes on each side. So, just roughly mark it out. You want to at least have maybe 3/8 1/2 inch space from the edge on both sides. So we'll just roughly mark it out. So we need 2 like that, and then for the other 2 you only need to put 1 pocket hole right in the middle. That's because when we go to screw it onto the top, I want to put 2 pocket holes this way to help secure it to the top. Yeah, I know with only 2 here it might want to twist this way, but once we add the 2 screws into the top, we won't have that problem anymore. So let's set up our Kreg jig, and we'll cut our pocket holes. Okay, so now that we have our pocket holes, it should look something like this. Two pieces going up into the top, one to each side, two of those like that. Then we have our two other pieces with two on each side. Got that done. Now the next step is to secure these onto our legs. But before we do that, we want to sand it because it's going to be really difficult to sand it once we have these connected to the legs. So let's go ahead and get our sander and sand these down. Here I have a knot, but it's a bit cracked and they got chewed up a little bit from the planer. So what I have here is some 5-minute epoxy. Just gonna mix it up really well, and then I'm gonna fill in this crack with it and let it set, and then I can sand the rest of the pieces while this is waiting and fill that crack up. This is just regular epoxy, 5-minute setting epoxy. And then once this hardens with just a nice sharp chisel, we can clean off the excess and then sand it down. So you really want to try and get it in the cracks. Press it down in there. I'm gonna have a little small one over here. Okay, now we're just gonna leave that, and then we'll sand other pieces while we wait for that to dry. Since we have our leg sanded and our middle piece sanded here as well, now we need to screw them together in here. So I don't want it to be flush with the front, so I want to put it a 1/2-inch spacer underneath, and then I'm going to screw it in this way for our one side. And then once you have that side done, we need to repeat the same thing to the other two legs, and then we can put the final two pieces and connect it and make the base together. So let me go ahead and get my screws, screw them in this way, and then we can work on the top next. Okay, now since we have our legs and rails glued and screwed together, next step we can do is work on our top. So I got a thick piece of cherry here. So what we'll do is we'll resaw it on the bandsaw first, and we'll roughly plate it down to roughly 3/4 of an inch. And then after, we can joint the two boards together to make a wider board using our biscuit jointer. And then from there we can plane it down to the final dimensions, which will be 3/4 inch, and then we can bring it over to the table saw and fix it up there. Let's go ahead and cut this on the bandsaw first. Okay, so here I have my two boards that I glued up, and I'm just gonna take them out of the clamps. So what I did is I marked on both sides a line, so that when I went with my biscuit jointer, they can line up and be in the same spot. And what I did is I left a little bit of space from the end so I can flush cut it, because I do not want to have the biscuit too close that it's going to be touching the end. And I left the space at the other end, so the final dimension is 13. You don't want the biscuit too close to that either as well. So next we'll take it out of the clamps and clean up this glue, and then we'll send it to the planer to get to our final thickness. Okay, now that we have our top laying down to our final dimension, now we can rip it on the table saw to our final width, and then once we're done that, we can cut it to a final length. Once we're done that, you have the option if you want to do a nice router around the edges, but for mine, I'll probably just keep it square. Once that's done, all we really have to do left is just attach it to the top, add a coat of your favorite finish, and that's it. Let's go cut this down. Okay, now since we have our top down to our final dimensions, we can put on a flat surface. I'm going to use my table saw, and we can flip our legs upside down to our side rails, and make sure we have equal distance on all four corners for each side to give us a nice overlap. And then from there we can go ahead and screw in our 4 pocket holes and flip it over, and we're done. Okay guys, and there you have it, a nice little cherry end table. All that's left is just to add a nice little coat of your favorite varnish. I'll probably say that for another day. It's a little bit cold here in the shop today, but yeah, simple cherry end table, the pocket holes. Hope you guys like it, and hopefully a couple more videos here to come.